Hi guys, my name is Rhonda White and we are in week 4 of Learn, Grow, Eat, Go program. Welcome to this week's recipe demonstration. Today we're going to be making a bok choy noodle crisp. If you'll pull out your recipe that your teachers have given you, you'll notice on the right hand side of your recipe it tells you how long it takes to make it, tells you how many it serves, and it also tells you that a serving size of this recipe is going to be a half cup, which this is an example of a half a cup measure. Also, it's going to tell us on the right hand side the utensils that we need to make the recipe, and at the bottom it lists a nutrition facts label, which we'll be going over that as soon as we make the recipe. Now on the left hand side it tells the ingredients we're going to be using, and then it also gives us the directions on how to make the recipe. So with that being said, let's get started on our cooking. So first of all, what we're going to do is you always wash your hands with warm soap and water to get rid of all the germs, because you don't want that yucky stuff in your food. I've already done that, and I've already washed our vegetables ahead of time. So what we've got first of all is the recipe calls for 2 heads of bok choy chopped. And I've already chopped all of this lettuce up into really fine little strips. If you kind of pull that up, you can see it's really fine strips. This whole bowl is 2 heads of bok choy. Now our bok choy, this is what it looks like in the store. It is like kind of like a cabbage. Normally you think of a bok choy as a round head of cabbage, but these are long kind of flat leaves. That's what our bok choy looks like. And so I've already chopped that up, but I'm going to show y'all just a little bit kind of how I chopped it. I cut out all the white pieces because we're just going to eat the leaves of this bok choy. So I'm going to kind of take and slice the white part away and set that off to the side. And then what we're left with is this really pretty green leaf right here. All I did is I cut this in fine strips like this. And I'm real careful with my knife that I'm not cutting my fingers, because knife safety is very important in the kitchen. And then I'm going to turn it sideways and kind of fold them over, and I'm going to make really fine little slices just like this, because this recipe you use really fine little slices. So that's how you're going to slice that bok choy up. And I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest of that in my bowl. Now we've got that. Now if y'all can look on your recipe and see the next thing that we've got on the vegetables is we're going to chop 1 green onion. And I kind of went out of order today, but we can do our chopping first. This is what a fresh green onion looks like. You'll notice when you buy these in the store, they still have the roots on them, and you want to cut that off. So I'm going to cut the roots off at the bottom of that green onion. This is what you call the bottoms of an onion. This is all underground right here. This green part is the tops of the onion. We're just going to slice this into really thin pieces here. And again, we're going to be careful not to get our fingers, so I've got my hand far away from the knife blade. This is going to give it a little bit of extra flavor. Onion is a very good way to season and flavor your foods. We're going to go all the way up this onion until we get it all sliced up. Set that aside. I'm even going to put the tops of the onion, we're going to put that in the recipe as well. Now the bok choy, we've been talking about nutrients each week. This bok choy this week is extremely nutritious. We've been talking about vitamin A and vitamin C, which a lot of those come from our green leafy vegetables like bok choy. This recipe has almost twice the amount of vitamin A you need in one day, and it also has almost twice the amount you need of your vitamin C, so it's very nutritious. I've got the onion chopped. I'm just going to add it to this bowl right here. That is all the vegetables that we're putting in there. Now we're going to make our sauce, our dressing for the salad, and I'm going to set this kind of aside. So what we're going to need for our dressing is it calls for a half a cup of vegetable oil, which we have here. It calls for white vinegar. It calls for sugar. And it also calls for soy sauce. This is an Oriental type vegetable salad. So the first thing, if you'll look on your recipe, it calls for half a cup of vegetable oil. We're going to get our liquid measuring cup. You do not measure liquids with your dry measuring cups. You use a clear measuring cup. So we're going to pour that to half a cup, and it's marked on the side where we can see it. So we have our oil. And we're going to use a mason jar with a lid. These are really nice to use for your dressings because you can put the lid on and shake it up and it will not come out. So I'm going to pour our oil in the jar. We've got all that. And then next it calls for a 1/4 cup of vinegar. We're going to use the same measuring cup. And I want to ask y'all, what is bigger, a 1/2 cup or a 1/4 cup? So actually a 1/4 cup is exactly half of 1/2 of a cup. 4 quarters make a whole. So a 1/4 cup is smaller than a half. We're going to pour that vinegar right in there. Now I want to ask about a little bit of science. If y'all will notice this jar, this oil is floating up to the top of the water. If you can see, the oil is kind of more of a yellow color than the vinegar. And the reason why that's floating, I'm going to let y'all take a minute to answer. Why is the oil floating on top of the vinegar? It's because the oil weighs less than the vinegar, and so it's going to float on top. So there we've got that. Now we're going to measure out our soy sauce, and we're going to use, if y'all will remember, a tablespoon is bigger than a teaspoon. And this calls for 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. So this is our low sodium or low salt soy sauce. And I'm just going to measure right into that tablespoon. And y'all help me count. So that's 1, 2. We've got 3 tablespoons of the soy sauce. You can see that. Now the next thing we're going to add is our sugar, and I've just poured it out in a bowl so we can scoop it out. So it calls for 1/3 cup of sugar, which we're going to use this measuring cup right here, and I'm just going to scoop that into the bowl and level it off, and then I'm going to pour this back into the jar. So that's kind of our mixture right now until we shake that up. So now I'm going to put my lid on the jar. And y'all can kind of see that kind of looks, you got some science discussion that you could talk about with this, all the different colors and what's floating on top and what's kind of sinking to the bottom. That sugar's kind of sinking to the bottom right now. Now I'm going to shake this up. And we're kind of making the dressing for this salad right now. Now it's all shaken up. I'm going to set that aside. One of the last things we're going to do is we're going to get our chow mein noodles. This is what the chow mein noodles look like. They're kind of long and they're kind of thin. And so we're going to measure out. If you'll look on your recipe, they call for 3/4 of a cup. So today I wanted y'all to see what 3/4 of a cup looks like. This is 1/4 of a cup. This is another 1/4, and this is another 1/4. So 3/4 equals how much of a cup? 1/4 plus 1/4 plus another 1/4 is 3/4. So that's 3/4 of a cup. So we're going to measure out 3 of these, and we're just going to sprinkle on top of our bok choy over here. So we've got 1, and we're going to add 1 more on top. That makes 1/2 of a cup, and then we're going to add another 1/4 of a cup, makes 3/4. So we're going to toss this just a little bit. Y'all can see that we'll toss that just a little bit and get that all blended. There's not many noodles in this salad. And now it's time to pour our dressing on. So I'm going to shake this up one more time. And I'm going to drizzle this on top of our salad. So now I'm just going to pour that all out and get it all mixed in. So now we've got all of our dressing there. Now I'm going to mix this up with a spoon. And I can already begin to smell the soy sauce and the vinegar mixing with this. And you've got some different texture in here with the bok choy noodles because they're kind of crispy and a harder texture. So, okay guys, that's all there is to it. This is our bok choy noodle crisp, and it didn't take long at all to put together. Now the next thing I want to close out with y'all is y'all get your recipes back out, and if y'all will look at the kitchen math at the bottom of your recipe, we'll go through these questions real quick. The first question says the recipe calls for ingredients to serve 8 people. If we needed to feed 16 people, how many tablespoons of soy sauce would you need? So your recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. So if we're going to double the recipe, how many tablespoons would you need? The answer is going to be 6. The next question is how much sugar would you need if you double it? It calls for 1/3 cup of sugar. So you would multiply that by 2 and you would get 2/3 cup of sugar. The next question says, what are the 3 liquid ingredients used in the recipe? So look at your ingredients up at the top of your recipe and find the liquid ingredients. So those would be vegetable oil, vinegar, and your soy sauce. Then it asks, what vitamin has the largest percentage of daily value in this recipe? Over here, you need to look on the right-hand side under this nutrition facts label at the very bottom. It's going to list your vitamins. Always on a nutrition facts label, the very bottom has your vitamins. So if you look at there, it's got vitamin A and vitamin C. Y'all tell me which one has more. Vitamin A has more, it has more value than the vitamin C in this recipe. Now it says, what is the difference in the amounts of calcium and iron? So look right below vitamin A and vitamin C. Calcium has 25%, iron has 15%. So y'all tell me the difference in those two numbers. So that's pretty easy subtraction. 25 minus 15 is going to be 10. So 10 is the difference. Okay guys, that's all we have today. Thank y'all for joining me, and I will see y'all next week for our week 5 of Learn, Grow, Eat, Go. And I hope y'all have a great week. So we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.